Ghost tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis's haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lily Putt is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lily Putt is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kitty carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lily Putt also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lily Putt is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilyputt.net for more information and hours of operation.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 69, then Thursday, cloudy with a high of 85. Farmer's Kitchen and Bar brings the flavors of the harvest to downtown Minneapolis, featuring selections like locally sourced poultry and wild rice meatballs. Farmer's Kitchen and Bar is located on 2nd Street next to the Guthrie Theater. Check them out at farmerskitchenandbar.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience. Because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
And this is Ghostbox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakken. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's going to be a great show tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun talking to our guests. But before I get to her, I'd like to quickly get to, let's see here. Adam in Eden Prairie, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well tonight, sir. Very busy night, especially after last night. And then I will say, working all day tonight, I've been looking forward to this interview because what both you and John Parker from The Gailey Show talk about this author, I cannot wait to hear about this book.
So it's interesting. First of all, if you don't do so, please check out The Gailey Show Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. It is the only radio show in the country that is completely designated and talks about the queer community. And it's a fantastic show, very insightful and very much needed, to be perfectly honest now. And then, of course, last night, John and Jim, they were doing the election coverage, which they did a good job. And little did they realize, Adam, I don't know if you knew this as well, but if they didn't do a good job, this was kind of to see if, how well they could do things. They were going to be fired today. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but
Mike had me get the pink slips ready just in case. So they got lucky. They got lucky. They were going to be hanging in their lockers when they got here.
Well, and honestly, Mike asked me, he's like, well, what did you think? And I was kind of like, let's cut the chain, let's cut the tether here. But they didn't listen to me yet again. So they stay for another month or two. So,
well, we'll see what happens by the end of this month.
So, in all honesty, of course, we love John and Jim. We love the Gailey Show, and they did a fantastic job last night. It was a lot of fun listening to what they were reporting regarding the primary elections. It was great. And about 2 months ago, John came into my office at the station, and he held up a book, and he said, "This is something that I think you'd be very interested in talking about on your show, and it's an author that we have on the program once a month." So I'm very excited to kind of go through this, and in some ways I'm a little intimidated, because it's like I really want to get into what this book is about, and really do a good job with it, because I have a lot of respect for our guest, who is Alana Masad, and she is a writer of fiction, nonfiction, and criticism. Her work has appeared in the New Yorker, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, NPR, The Atlantic, Story Quarterly, Catapult, BuzzFeed, Joyland, The Account, and many more. She is the author of the novel All My Mother's Lovers, and also the author of the book we're going to be talking about today, called Beings. Masad holds a PhD in English from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, and has taught a wide variety of creative writing and literature courses, and also provides editorial services to authors. And as we mentioned, Alana Masad is on The Gailey Show once a month, if I'm not mistaken, the third Friday of every month. And talking, and Alana, you're talking about like book recommendations, right?
Yeah, I do queer book recommendations every month.
That is fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Alana Masad to Ghostbox Radio. And how are you doing tonight?
Thank you so much for having me, Greg. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Oh, it's
How
great.
are you?
It's
And your
great.
creepy doll.
Well, it's only creepy when it moves, and otherwise it's pretty good. I have to tell the story, and listeners are getting probably very sick and tired of this story, but I have a good friend of mine who I do a lot of my events with, and she's a psychic medium, and this is a doll that is based off of Annabelle from the Warrens, the Conjuring film series, but Annabelle is a real thing. So I wanted to have a doll like that, and I went to Etsy, and this is a vintage doll. It arrives as she arrives one day. I take the box from outside. I bring the box inside my house, just in the doorway, and I kid you not, I get a text from Shar, and she's like, "What did you just bring into your house?" So yeah, and honestly, as I always say too, when I move her, I don't just like take her and like move her to the side where she's just like laying or crumpled up or anything. I make sure that she is sitting up and that she is well taken care of. We're not gonna. It's so funny because, as I mentioned before the show started, my family room is right there, so my couch is just a complete kitty corner for where I am right now, and I can shut my French doors. And every time I shut the French doors and where I'm sitting, her face is always perfectly framed in the window frames on the door.
Oh my God.
She's amazing. She's amazing. So yeah, that's what all that's about. But we're not here to talk about her tonight. We're here to talk about beings. And Alana, let's start with really basically, because it's, first of all, a beautiful cover. It's a beautiful book. And I see this beautiful flying saucer on the cover. What is the book about?
Yeah, so the book is three stories, intertwined stories. One of them is a retelling of, or sort of an imagined version of, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction and the years following. So basically, from the day that they were abducted until Barney's death in 1969. And that's one strand of the story. Another strand of the story is the life of a young science fiction writer named Phyllis, who runs away from home when her parents discover that she's queer, and who sort of makes a new life for herself in Boston and starts working at the newspaper that broke the Betty and Barney Hill story in 1965. And then it is also the story of a present day archivist, who, by happenstance, finds both of these stories right around the same time, and also had a strange experience with a UFO in their own childhood that they do not remember at all. And so the book sort of follows them as they try to recall that memory, and as they become more and more enmeshed in both of these stories.
So Phyllis's story, does that take place in 65 then?
That story also takes place from 1961 to 1969.
19
So both of
Okay.
the historical stories take place throughout the decade of the 60s.
And the first story, which is it's Betty and Barney Hill, right?
Yeah.
And it really is one of the famous things in the newspaper that broke the story is only broke because their hypnotherapist or whatever he leaked the tapes.
Well, no, actually. So that's a common misconception.
That's not true, huh?
No, that's not true. Well, as far as I know, as far as we know, the tapes did leak much later. Um, but there was a leaked tape, but it wasn't of their hypnosis session. So after their experience, they went and sort of, they told the Air Force, because that's what you were supposed to do when you saw a UFO, and they didn't immediately remember the abduction. And they're they talked to, just like family and friends about their experience. And eventually, what happened was that they ended up speaking to a pretty big UFO study group, which was what these kind of groups of interested people used to be called. They were called study groups. And it was in New England, and they went there and they told their story like they always do. But Betty that night sort of decided to also tell the audience about her dreams. And her dreams were the ones that were what was really bothering her after the abduction. She was having these recurring dreams um, about what she thought might have happened during this period of time that she and Barney didn't remember from that night of the abduction. But she said in these tapes that they were dreams. And she said that, she'd been told by some people that maybe they could indicate something that had happened, but she really didn't know. And this was before they had started seeing their psychiatrist. Without their knowledge, someone had taped that meeting. They didn't know this until years later when someone leaked those tapes, the tapes from that UFO study group meeting, to a journalist at the Boston Herald Traveler. And that journalist started contacting everyone they knew. He contacted them. They didn't want to speak to him. And I think he contacted their psychiatrist as well, who might have spoken to him probably more than he should have. But he, as far as I know, did not leak the tapes at that time. The tapes were leaked later. The tapes are still in their actual archive. So they agreed to have the tapes in their archive and to keep them there. And, it's interesting because during my research for the book, I discovered that not all of the tapes, but one of the tapes is available to listen to on YouTube. And I did not listen to it because in the book that they had written about them in 1966, The Interrupted Journey, there were a lot of transcripts, partial transcripts of their interviews, of their hypnosis sessions were in that book. And that was all with their cooperation. They wanted this book written because they were trying to correct the record. And they talked about how they did not want anyone to listen to these tapes. And so I really felt like I couldn't, like,
Interesting,
because
yeah.
I respected them, and I just, part of what drove me to write the book was this feeling that their story had been taken away from them so many times. And this was one thing where I was like, no one will ever know, obviously, if I listen to this or not, but I just feel like I ethically can't do it because they really didn't want to be heard in that deeply vulnerable position.
I think that's so interesting, and I respect that. I really respect that a lot because that is really important because they didn't want people to listen. I mean, at least this part I know. They weren't out there looking for the fame. They weren't out there looking for,
not.
I mean, and in a way, and correct me if you think I'm kind of getting way off here, there's such a correlation in a sense between like Phyllis and Betty and Barney because they're all outsiders. Betty and Barney are interracially married, which we all know that doesn't go very well in the 60s. you
It was
know.
still illegal in nearly half the country. This was
Yeah,
before Loving v. Virginia.
absolutely. And with Phyllis being gay, that
Mhm.
I mean, and that's and I mean, do you kind of is there, like, you make correlations there, or just we kind of leave it for people to kind of like, yeah, here you go,
I mean, I don't make it explicit, but like the fact
right,
that the stories are sitting together is part of it. Because I mean, for me, part of why I felt like I wanted to tell a story about someone like Phyllis next to the story about the Hills was that the story that came out about them in the newspaper in 1965 that then went, the 60s version of viral because it was reprinted all over the country.
right,
People were writing in about it, like people were fascinated, thought it was hilarious, people thought it was ridiculous. They were outed. I mean, that's basically what
yeah,
happened. They were outed, and that correlation felt very clear to me, especially because in the 60s it was very normal that I mean their address was printed in the newspaper, right? Like the Hill's address was printed, like Mr. Betty and Barney Hill of, something something whatever road,
yeah,
uh and in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And that meant that people could reach them, they could write to them, they could try to find their phone number in the phone book. They were just completely left vulnerable, and in the 60s, if someone was arrested at a gay bar, their name and address would also be printed in the newspaper. And this was just normal, right? Like we weren't
yep,
living in an era of doxing. This was just what a normal national, reputable newspaper did. Um, And so it felt very clear to me that there was such a correlation here in terms of like what they went through and what a gay person who was outed might have gone through in terms of the ridicule, in terms of the idea of them being mentally ill, right? Because also homosexuality was not taken out of the DSM, the psychiatrist Bible, as it were, until I think 1970 or 75.
hmm,
So in the 60s, you were still considered mentally ill if you were gay. And of course, people who saw aliens would also be considered mentally ill. UFOs, less so. UFOs were pretty common phenomenon, but saying that you saw aliens, you must be crazy, right?
yeah.
And so there were just all of these correlations that just felt to me very, very ripe a for storytelling.
What kind of like correlation can we make with the queer community today versus the story you're telling with Phyllis? Because that fascinates me in the sense that I think the people who just don't know, who are not necessarily paying attention, and I could be one of them. I could very well be one of them. That you look at you try to be like, oh well, things have really improved for the community over the past
Mhm.
60 years, but has it? I mean, because it seemed like that we were going kind of on an upward, like, we're get the community is getting better, they're getting recognized,
Mhm.
they're getting, they're allowed, we're passing laws so they can get married and have be
Mhm.
be accepted. And then, to me, it's obvious that that's all crashed down on
Mhm.
spectacularly.
Mhm.
Now, if you put that 2026 to 1965, where is the community at now?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what was really interesting to me when I was researching was how much the 60s felt like today. When I was just
Sure.
researching kind of the era in terms of, there were these big kind of intense um fights for civil rights, right? I mean, this is the height of the civil rights movement. This was the beginning of the gay civil rights movement in the 60s. I mean, it had started earlier, but it was sort of starting to ramp up, and it was learning, the gay civil rights movement was learning a lot from the black civil rights movement. And, you know, there were similar sort of fights about language and about whose reality is the correct reality. And yeah, in many ways, things have gotten better, right? I mean, in some ways, the fact that we have the internet means that like a lot of young people can find their peers a lot more easily than someone in the 60s could. You didn't have to be slipped a gay magazine by someone who recognized you in order to find your peers. Now we have
Yeah.
Tumblr, we have TikTok, we have whatever. And all of those are problematic in their own ways, obviously, for all sorts of reasons, especially surveillance. But still, like, there are ways for people to connect, in ways that are much more accessible. At the same time, we're seeing right now such intense backlash towards the progress that was being made. And the newest boogeyman is trans people, in the
Yep.
sense that, like, the law there, I mean, there are so many laws being passed left and right now that criminalize or, you know, make it, just harder for young trans people and trans adults to get healthcare, just like basic stuff. And it's really scary. I just finished reading Susan Stryker's newest book called Changing Gender, which is coming out soon, which is really, really good. And I highly recommend it. It'll be probably one of the books I recommend to John next week. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's very alarming to see where we're at. I mean, the thing that always gives me hope, though, is that even as these backlashes are occurring, queer people, trans people, we're all continuing to make art. We're trying to connect with each other. We're trying to connect with our history. Um, and that always gives me hope, like, I don't think we're giving up.
Absolutely not. And I was going to say that I've been to 2 Pride events this summer, and I've said this before, that the level of love you feel at these events is
Mhm,
not something I experience anywhere else. Where you really feel embrace. It doesn't
mhm,
matter what it doesn't matter who you are, whatever. It's like the way that the world should be. Though
mhm,
that we're all accepted, because at a pride event it is recognized that we are all unique and we're all beautiful and we're all different.
mhm,
And that's something that I just I can't get over. And if people are listening and like, "But Greg, you never talk about politics on Ghostbox." This isn't politics. This is human
mm-mm,
rights.
mhm,
A completely different thing. And
mhm,
that's something that I feverishly believe in. Adam feverishly believes in, that this is important stuff to talk about. So
mhm. And
that's yes.
it's interesting, just to bring it back to aliens again, because I know that is your audience. It's funny. There's one of the
They're
books that
they're
I read
not
for my
they're not
research.
all aliens, Alana. Only
No,
about 75% of them are actually aliens. So I'm
I
sorry.
see what I did there, and I see what you did. Um, yes. During the research that I did, one of the books that I read is called "They Are Already Here" by
Mhm.
Sarah Scholes, who's a science journalist. Um, and it's a great book, and the subtitle is "Why We See UFOs." And one of the things that she said that I couldn't get over, and again was one of the impetuses for sort of bringing Phyllis's story into the book, was that when she was researching this topic and sort of researching the ufology community, what she saw going to a MUFON convention was the way that she saw that all of these people who outside of this space were, a little guarded, right? Because a lot of them believe in very different things. They have very different levels of, belief in a variety of, kinds of aliens, and things that other people consider conspiracy theories, etc. And when they went to this convention, they all sort of physically relaxed a little bit, like,
Yep.
she could just see it, and she said that it was very much like, for her, the first time that she's a lesbian, the first time she went to a lesbian bar, and she walked in and was like, "Oh, even though I share nothing in common with these people except for the fact that we're all gay, there's just something that allows me to relax in that space." And that just gave me so much insight into, like, what it must be like to be a fervent believer in something
Yeah.
that is not mainstream, that does not have, a kind of clear, like, church or creed or political party or whatever, and to have a space where you can really breathe and just be yourself with what you believe.
Well, and I know we need to take a break here. My gosh, we really do need to take a break here. But I want to quickly close the loop on this and say
Mhm,
that any kind of, and I'm going to say any kind of fandom as well,
mhm.
that's the same sort of thing. I mean,
Yes.
in the 80s I was watching Doctor Who, which
Yeah.
you get beat up in the the parking lot for that one. And, but once you go to a Doctor Who convention and you see all the other people wearing scarves, you're you're just like, I feel good. Now it's so much easier for, people to be able to wear that stuff on their sleeves, literally a little bit more. So it is interesting. And I think that does correlate back to the queer community as well, because there, you can be loud and proud and strong about it. But what's happening though with the human rights sort of aspect to it is appalling at the same time.
Absolutely.
Why don't we go ahead and do this? I'm really over on this break here, and we need to get a break in here. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about aliens with Alana Masad, talk a little bit about when she's going to be on the Gailey Show, and any questions that you have, don't go anywhere. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Greg Bakken here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis's haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Looking for something different for family fun, a night out with friends, or your next team-building event? Try the escape rooms at Lilliput. Step into the haunted mansion, race to find a cure in the bunker, or survive Night of the Wolf, all with just 60 minutes to escape. It's private, immersive, and perfect for groups of all kinds. Book your adventure now, spots fill fast. Visit lilliput.net and see if your team has what it takes to escape. Greg Bakken here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Have you made your way over to Moonstone, Minneapolis yet? As I said in the ad, it's a queer-owned shop that is offering crystals, tarot cards, candles, other metaphysical treasures. It's a fantastic place. The store features carefully curated collection of stones. And I just want to draw your attention. If you go to moonstoneMPLS.com, go on the top, on the menu on the top, you could shop and they'll ship anywhere you want that you live. So, that's a great thing to do. But go over to the events calendar, and there you're going to see, first of all, August is full of amazing things that you can do over at the store and be able to learn a lot of stuff as well. And as I mentioned before, every Thursday is intro topics that start at 6 p.m. So, for example, tomorrow, which is the 13th, is going to be intro topics, tea leaf readings. They're going to show you how to do that. On the 20th, it's going to be clairs and intuition. On the 27th, it's going to be intro to human development. And then on the 3rd of September, it's going to be tarot divination. You can find all this on Moonstone, mpls.com. Go to events calendar. Once again, as I say about all this stuff, it's all locally owned, and it's really important to make sure that we are going and supporting these wonderful locations. And then I had an amazing thought. I thought to myself, my goodness, I think, Alana, I see that you are doing book signings, but you're not coming. Oh, meet Alana, and there's all the places in the United States except Minnesota. I'm noticing that right off the top. And because Moonstone would be a great place for you to do a reading.
Maybe for my paperback release next year.
I think you should, and I would love to help you make that a reality, because Moonstone also has space for all sorts of things, and it's like also community driven as well. Mm-hmm. So to me, this seems like a perfect combination amongst other. So that would be really fun. Yes, totally. Please do. Our guest tonight is Alana Masad. We are talking about her book, Beings. Not beans, in case you didn't hear me correctly. Beings, Beings. I don't always enunciate the best, Alana, so I want to make sure people got it correctly.
I appreciate it.
The book is available all sorts of places. I always tell people to, if you want to get the book, maybe try a local bookseller. If they don't have it, they can order it. Also, if you are in a generous mood, feel free to go over to ghostboxradio.com, Ghostbox Book Club. We have an Amazon affiliated link there. It helps Ghostbox Radio directly. That's if you're in a good mood to help us out. You can also go to alanamasad.com. That's ILANAMASAD.com. There, you can just learn all sorts of wonderful things about what Alana is doing, but also there's multiple options to buy the book as well. So there you go.
Yes, and my mom just texted me to tell me she's going to be laughing and embarrassed right now at home because, of course, she's listening. But she is originally from Mendota Heights, so I do have a connection to the Twin Cities.
Mendota Heights, absolutely. That is fantastic. That is great. Yeah. We got to figure out a way to get you out here, and then
I agree.
Then you can do now I'm planning the Gailey show for John and Jim as well. But then you can do be in studio live during it
that would
as
be amazing.
Well.
Oh my gosh,
that'd be great.
I'm a big radio fan, so I'm a big NPR kid, so I was always listening to NPR in the car with my mom when I was little, and as an adult I do too. So I really love public radio. I love AM radio. So it's such a pleasure to be here and to do that with them as well.
Doesn't John's voice sound like it belongs on NPR?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just it's total NPR voice, and that
so is.
And that's a compliment. To me, that's a high compliment personally.
Yeah, totally.
So the book itself, it's called Beings, and it's this really heavy UFO alien influence. What prompted you to include that element and being the basis of the book?
Well, so my partner listens to a lot of podcasts, and he was listening to a podcast. He was listening to the last podcast on the left, if you know it. It's also involved with sort of spooky stuff, strange stuff, high strangeness. And this was years and years ago, before they were doing quite as much research as they do now. And they were doing an episode about the hills. And I kind of heard it with half an ear. He was in the kitchen making dinner. I was in the living room doing something. And I just started asking questions. And he was like, why don't you listen to the episode by yourself from the very beginning so you can get the full context? And so I did. And I just couldn't stop thinking about them because, where where my mind went first, and there have been other people who have written about this theory, is that, like, well, again, they were a Black man and a white woman. They were driving through Maine and then New Hampshire, and they were, it was the middle of the night in lily white New Hampshire, very abandoned stretch of road. Surely what happened to them was not that they were abducted by aliens, but something much worse. They were hate crimed in some way.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that theory, and then I kind of felt like, whoa, why am I thinking about that theory? Like, why is that easier for me to believe than to take these two people at their word? And I just felt very disturbed by that idea that, like, two people who had the same story from the time it happened until one of them died, and they kept to their story and to their experience, and talk to people about it. Not at first, again, not to many people at first, just to friends and family, as one would do with anything intimate that happens to you. You might share with people close to you in your life, and not beyond that. And then with a professional maybe, but not beyond that. But then they were outed, and then they were needing to talk about it all the time, all over the country. And I just kept thinking, like, why am I so quick to jump to skepticism? And of course, it's, something about my own, upbringing in a rationalist kind of Western world, right? Like, that doesn't see things that are out of the realm of what we recognize as, like, logical or visible reality as being real, right? Living in a kind of a rationalist society makes it much harder to believe in certain things. And I just kept thinking, like, these people were already taken advantage of. They were outed. The Hills did not want to share their story. Then they did share their story in order to correct the record about it. And kind of in order to prove that they weren't insane, right? Their book did very well, which was not given, because books then, as now, do not automatically do well. It just happened to do well. People were fascinated, and it did very well. And so, but then their lives kind of were taken over by this one thing that happened to them. They both ended up needing to leave their jobs for health reasons, in various ways. And so then they were also kind of trapped, right? Like anyone who becomes infamous gets trapped in needing to make a living off this thing that happened to them. And this thing that was a trauma, but was also very awe-inspiring, and did in some ways make them feel very much like there is something bigger than us, there is something sort of incredible out there, and we want to tell our story in part so that if other people experience something like this in the future, they can see that someone else has gone through it before. And I just
Sorry, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, I just kept thinking about how, like, the only way that I would feel okay about telling their story was if I were to take them at their word.
Yep.
And not dress up their story with something more logical, quote unquote, or more rational, quote unquote. That's also so much darker, right? I mean, again, in a way, being abducted by aliens was very awe-inspiring at the same time that it was very terrifying. And I don't think that you can say the same thing about, having violence enacted on you by another human.
Do you think, okay, for a couple things here, that story also, because you really sum it up very nicely about Betty and Barney, that it took over their lives. Another person that immediately reminds me of is, I don't know if you're familiar with Travis Walton.
No.
Oh, you want to look that up. And we actually interviewed him. And I'm just going to leave it at that, because I want to kind of keep on your book here. And I want to ask a question and then take another break, because this is a shortened segment. But would you have been more inclined, because, from the time that they were abducted and that story came out, 60 years have passed, and we know human history of, like you said, an interracial couple that are driving in the back roads and something happened, and you right away think that this is what it is. And there wasn't, and we also know a lot about aliens now. Would you have been quicker to believe them in 1965 without all that backstory, or do you think it would have been the same regardless?
Oh, that I have no idea because I don't know what I would have been like in 1965,
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, I think that because of the kind of skeptic that I tend to be, although writing this book has made me a lot less of a skeptic and a lot more, not a believer, but a lot more open to mystery and open to understanding and believing that there is so much that I don't know, um, and so much that we all don't know. And so I think because of the kind of skeptic that I am, sort of naturally, I think I probably would have been more like Phyllis in the 60s in that, I would have thought, well, this is just nonsense. And like, I love this stuff in science fiction, but I want it to stay in the realm of fiction. Certainly, it's not something that could come out into real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Is there other similarities between you and Phyllis?
Oh, sure. I mean, the sort of I mean, there's all sorts of little ones, but she's not like autobiographical or anything,
No. No.
no, 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 but just, I mean, again, like my parents were not the kind of people who were going to kick me out when they learned I was queer or anything like that,
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, no, but I mean, I think I share with Phyllis a certain ability to put a really good face on things when they're hard, which is something that she's very good at. And and a love of science fiction, of course.
Absolutely. It was because we went along the first segment. I want to go ahead and get another break in real fast here. So let's continue this conversation. If you have any questions for Alana, put them in the comments. But we have a lot to get through still, and we're not going to get through everything. So we're going to do our very best. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakken here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis's haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Greg Bakken here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to the AndersonHouseHotel.com. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lilliput is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lily Putt is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lily Putt also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lily Putt is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilyputt.net for more information and hours of operation. And join me tomorrow on Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. We're going to run a replay from earlier this year where I had on Lon Strickler, and we were talking about Bigfoot sightings during the Civil War. It's a very interesting conversation. And what's also really interesting about it, too, is the episode ends with Lon sharing an experience that he had and trying to get the media and the police to listen to him, and it goes really astray. It's a fascinating story. You do not want to miss this. That is tomorrow, and then I'm back Friday with an all new Casual Friday. So still a lot of great radio coming up this week. Still a lot of great radio coming up now. My guest tonight is Alana Masad, and we're talking about her book Beings, which is available all over the place. I would also once again ask kindly, if you're in the mood to support Ghostbox Radio, to go ahead and get it through our affiliated link. You can find that on ghostboxradio.com/Ghostbox Book Club, where we have all sorts of titles. Every author we've ever had, their titles are on there as well. It's a great selection of books in this genre. And also, please go visit Alana. Go to alanamasad.com, ILANAMASAD.com. I'll put this in all the socials that I will put out after the show. It's you're going to get a lot of great information. As we are wrapping up, well, we still have a little bit of time. We're about 10 minutes left here. Alana, I can't help but notice you said that you're not yet a believer.
Mm-hmm.
What? What? Come on.
I mean, look.
Come on. Yeah, I'm looking. Come on.
I think that I am one of those people who is naturally inclined to skepticism. And I know this about myself, but again, writing this book made me so much less skeptical. And it just made me so much more open to the possibility, right? Because one of the things that was really interesting to me in sort of researching aliens and the UFO community and what people experience during alien abductions. So I'm sure you know of Dr. John E. Mack, the Harvard psychiatrist, right, who is to this date like one of the only people to have really seriously taken alien abductees seriously without even positing a belief or a non-belief, but simply saying this is a real experience that people are going through and it's worth looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's worth talking to these people and really hearing them and what they have to say. And reading his books was so interesting because it sort of showed me again that it almost doesn't matter what I believe, because the fact is that I believe the people who go through it,
Yeah.
To me, that is more important than telling anyone oh, well, I believe in aliens for sure. I mean, look, in the grand scheme of things, I think it's ridiculous to assume that we are the only intelligent life in the universe. The universe is endless and expanding. Somehow my brain hurts trying to think about it. There is no way we are the only intelligent life. I don't know that we'll meet intelligent life. I don't know that we are meeting intelligent life, but that doesn't matter, because the fact is that people are having very real experiences, and whether that's aliens, a spirit world. I mean, Whitley Strieber, right? One of the really interesting things about him was that even though so much of what he describes and has described seems very clearly, oh, this is aliens, right? Very in line with a lot of other people's alien experiences. He's always said, I don't know what they are. I don't know what it is that I'm experiencing. I just know that I'm going through something and I'm speaking to someone, and it's very intense and it's very real. And to me, that is of more interest, because that's the only thing that I can see, right, is the human beings in front of me telling the story.
Yep.
And until I have my own encounter, which unfortunately I do think that there's something to the fact that, like, if you want it too much, and I do really want it, you're never going to get it, with specifically with aliens, right? Like if you want to be abducted or if you want to see a UFO, you just don't, it seems. Um, and until I have my own experience, if that ever happens, I can't say like, oh, well, I believe in this one thing that looks like this and happens like this. But what I can say is that it seems improbable to me that so many people experience versions of something that is very similar, and more than that, that people have experienced this historically, right? Like, before we had the concept of aliens, there were still things and creatures that were taking people away or making them lose time. Like, there's stories in all kinds of cultures about this. I mean, one of the most famous, right, is like the Fae of, Ireland, right? Is like, well, they would take you away and something would happen and then they would bring you back and you would be changed. And that sounds an awful lot like what people describe about aliens. So there is something happening to us, something. I don't know if it's a collective unconscious. I don't know if it's a spirit realm. I don't know if it's aliens have been visiting us for, millennia. I don't know, but I am now much more comfortable living in the I don't know than in living in the no, it can't possibly be.
So hold my beer.
Okay.
And first off, I want to say that skepticism is a very good thing, right? It's the grounding, right? It's the balance that some people do need. And I also think the correlations between any sort of divulging your true self is courageous, like coming out, admitting to stuff, whatever. And so, what I've always enjoyed about my show is that it's my space to do whatever I want. So I've told people many times, I am an experiencer. I
did not know that.
So I don't know if you ever heard of CE5 experiments, something that I do. We can talk about that later, but I've seen them. I have markings. It's stuff that, and if someone said to me, I don't believe you, I don't take that personally, because these are things these are high concept things that are happening. But, that's just it. I mean, that's why you got to come out to Minnesota, say hi to your mom, go to Mendota Heights, go to Moonstone, Minneapolis. And then we need to do a CE5, get some people together. It's all about meditation. And it's all about, because let's put it this way, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the film, that's a CE3, if you get my drift.
Okay.
So
what did you think of Disclosure Day?
Loved it. And I probably cried about 5 times during the film, because there's so many things that mimics what either I've experienced or people that I know and trust experience. So it's really, and this is, and it's to your point too. And I think this is all kind of interesting how I think it all ties together really with your book and just the culture in general of, that to feel safe enough to be able to tell people. Because I've told people, and people at the station, for example, I've told certain things too. And, their looks sometimes are kind of like, okay.
Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah.
What is this next to me? It's and those are different perspectives for sure. So I don't think it's a matter of, I always say it's kind of the opposite of what you just said. If I want it so badly, I'm not going to get it. I always say careful for what you wish for, because you will get it.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, I will bear that in mind.
So yeah, I mean, it can happen. So real fast, we have about 3 minutes left. I want to make sure that people understand too that once again they can hear you on the Gailey Show once a month, the third Friday. And what time do you generally are you through the whole show or just part of it?
No. I have like a 20-minute segment. I think I'm the second segment. I think.
Okay, second segment.
So it's in the middle of the 2:00 hour, I believe.
So if people want to skip the rest of it and just listen to you, we now know where that is. Okay, that's good. So no, listen to the whole show. was talking with John earlier, and he's just like, I don't know how she gets through all the books, and how I mean, you must be just you just love to read, don't
I
you?
sure do. I sure do. Yep. Yep. It's still the thing that I do, even though my job in part is being a book critic, right? Like that's what I do before bed is I read a book for fun.
And where you don't have to think about it critically,
Yeah,
right? That you're
exactly.
just enjoying the experience and whatnot.
It.
That's great. That's great. And I end up kind of having to do the same thing in a sense because, like had you on today, I have, about, probably about 20 authors on a month. And, I
Wow.
try to read something, I
Yeah.
can't do it all. I mean, I'm a slow reader too. You must be really fast.
I'm not. I read while I walk. That's my secret is that I
Read while
read.
you walk. How does that
Yeah.
work? Are you on
Well,
like a
I mean, have you
treadmill or?
No, no. I mean, well, also when I'm on a treadmill, but no, I mean, think about how you look at your phone while you're walking from
I
your
don't.
car to somewhere. Oh, well, okay. A lot of people do, and it's very similar.
I can't chew gum and walk. I mean, I don't, next thing I'll know, I'm on like walking on a freeway. I don't want to.
I have ADHD, what am I going to do? I got to do
Right.
more than one thing at the same time.
Once again, the book is called Beings, written by Alana Masad. You can get this all over the place. Read it, enjoy it. If once again too, if you go to a local bookstore, see if they can order it in if they do not have it, and you're gonna love it. And also go to your website, alanamasad.com. Just see what's going on. Real fast, we have about 10 seconds left. Any other social medias? I mean, you can go to the social medias from your site as well. Anything else? Though?
I'm on Blue Sky at Ilana Slightly. I'm on Instagram, Ilana Slightly Ignorant.
Just go look.
Thank you.
She's everywhere. She's everywhere, and enjoy. And thank you, Alana, so much for joining me tonight. This was really cool.
I agree. If there's ever another time slot for me here too, I'm down to become an AM 950 regular.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Everyone, have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
The Tom Hartman Show. Now that's smart radio.